let me set the stage for you. Congress, as usual, cannot get its shit together, which means that on October 1st, we will most likely have a government shutdown. Now, you probably already know this because it's being talked about all over YouTube, and everyone is calling for doom and gloom. And in reality, YouTube loves drama, so my title might be something along those lines as well. But now that I have your attention, I want to tell you what actually will happen to the economy in the event of a government shutdown. So let's do just that. As always, my name is Derek and I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. Let's talk about the government shutdown and let's talk about the effects of the economy. Okay, so first and foremost, we have to understand that in a government shutdown, the main driver for negative economic impact will be basically pulling purchasing power out of the economy. Because in a government shutdown, what happens? All non-essential work must stop. So one of two things is going to happen. An estimated about 2 million government workers are considered non-essential. They will either be furloughed, okay, or they will continue to work without pay. Either scenario is bad because when you work without pay or you don't get paid in the first place, you are directly removing purchasing power from the economy. What happens when there is less spending in the economy? The economy can contract or shrink. Now, here's the thing. I don't think we should be that concerned because while 2 million people is a large number, and if you are a government worker, trust me, I feel for you, especially because Congress, of all people, are still paid during a government shutdown, which to me blows my mind that the people who are bickering and who are going to cause a government shutdown continue to get paid while regular employees of the government do not. I don't think that's fair, but we'll leave politics out of that. So if you are a government worker, I feel for you. But talking purely economically, 2 million people is a lot, but it is still a small percentage of the total U.S. workforce. So when we talk about a government shutdown, it's more so about time than it is about whether it happens or not. Okay? Whether it happens or not a big deal if the time is short. But if the government shutdown lasts, say, a week or longer, Goldman Sachs predicts that every week that the government is shut down, it'll affect negatively, it'll shrink GDP by about 0.2%. So those are the real world economic effects predicted by a major investment firm. So we really have to look at the time frame and how long it lasts. For example, our last government shutdown was end of 2018 into 2019, and that did last over 30 days. Okay, that is a long major government shutdown, and again, it's because Congress cannot figure out how to proportion its budget for the following year. In this case, it'll be for 2024. So that is the major effect on the economy, is that we will have less spending power in the economy, less purchasing power in the economy, which can cause the economy to lean on the brakes, right? Anytime you remove spending power, the economy will lean on the brakes. Here's the thing, and this is just theory and this is just prediction based on, just analysis. This might actually help inflation. Because again, when you have less spending power in the market, inflation should come down, right? Because remember, inflation is just a supply and demand formula. Okay, when there's too much demand and not enough supply, prices rise. When there's too much supply and not enough demand, prices fall. When you are removing purchasing power, you are in essence removing demand from the market. So a silver lining might be that inflation is helped by a government shutdown. Quite interesting. Let me know your comments below if you disagree with me. Totally fine. Remember, I'm not God. I don't have a chip on my shoulder, and I do not think I'm the smartest person in the world. So if you have differing opinions, as long as they're civil and we keep it civil, please let me know in the comments below. So silver lining, but also some negatives. A couple other things that we have to touch on. Non-essential work can also include data collecting, which this is where it gets interesting. So if the government is not collecting data on things like inflation, like the consumer price index, etc., there is going to be a delay in that data reaching the Fed. Okay. Now the Fed has a meeting coming up on November 1st and then again on December 13th. I believe those are the correct dates. Correct me if I'm wrong. The point is there's 2 more meetings for the Fed this year. The Fed relies on that data in order to make decisions about its interest rate, whether it raises it or keeps it stable in regards to the fight against inflation. So if inflation data as well as employment data, etc., is either delayed or does not come through in time, the Fed is going to have a harder time making that decision, which could negatively impact inflation if the wrong decision is met. Now, the Fed meetings are a complete separate video to this one. I want to focus on the government shutdown. The point of the matter, or the fact of the matter, ignore the bullshit out there, ignore all the doom and gloom predictions, and just remember that we've had many, many, many government shutdowns in the past, mostly because Congress likes to bicker more than anything, and mostly because we cannot get our spending under control. But again, that is also a topic for another video. The point is, we've had government shutdowns in the past, we will have them again in the future, and we will most likely have them very soon on October 1st, which is just a few days away, because Congress cannot figure out how to proportion or appropriate the budget for next year. The economic effects will depend not whether we have a shutdown or not. The economic effects will matter depending on how long that shutdown lasts. If the shutdown lasts just a few days and they figure their shit out and they put out a budget, the economy will keep trucking along. But if we start to go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and no budget has been proposed, and these employees are furloughed or working without pay, that will directly start to affect the economy, because every single week that goes by, you have about 2 million employees who have less spending. And eventually you get to a point where we start going 2 or 3 weeks where you start approaching time for mortgage payments, time for rent payments. And remember, government employees, just like everyone else, most people right now in America are living paycheck to paycheck. So you start pushing on that 30-day mark, and you can start having defaults on credit cards, defaults on loans, defaults on car payments, defaults on mortgages, and not paying rent. And that's when really you can start to see a major impact on the economy. So think about it almost like in my previous, not my previous video, but a few videos ago, I was talking about Evergrande, right? And the whole thing that's going on in China, right? And Country Garden was given a 30-day grace period to pay their debt. Think about it this way. The government shutdown, we have about a 30-day window before you really start seeing major effects to the economy. And no matter what everyone else tells you and all this doom and gloom predictions, if the economy shuts down on October 1st, it's not going to be the end of the world, but we do have to monitor it, and we have to remember we elect these people to make our lives better. And a lot of times they just bicker and moan and bicker and moan. And what's interesting right now is that you have a split. So you have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate controlled by different parties. So something that's proposed in one chamber might not pass the next one, because they're controlled by different parties. And what do you want? You have Republicans who want to cut spending, and you want Democrats who want to either keep spending the same or increase spending, and you have these major, major battles between that. And then even inside the Republican Party, you have infighting there, because some moderates don't want to cut spending too much, some hardcore ultra-rights want to cut spending more. I mean, it's a mess, and you get all this bickering, and we end up in this situation. So hopefully they can figure out their shit. Excuse my French. Hopefully a government shutdown does not happen on October 1st, and we'll have to wait and see. But every day that we get closer to October 1st without a budget proposal and without agreement, we get closer to a government shutdown. Luckily, the effects are going to be minimal at first, okay? But they will compound over time, and if we start approaching a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as Goldman Sachs predicts, we will have a 0.2% decrease in GDP. Here's the thing, and I don't know if Goldman Sachs takes this into account in their data, but that might be for the first week, second week, third week. But as we start pushing to a month or longer, you might see other major effects, because people, those 30 days, right? Bills are usually paid on a 30-day cycle. So we'll have to wait and see how that works, and we'll have to wait and see if we even get a government shutdown in the first place. It is looking more likely. Hopefully this video brought you all down to earth and gave you perspective on what's going to actually happen. Again, YouTube loves drama, so you have to have a title that's dramatic, and you have to have a thumbnail that's dramatic. But in reality, government shutdowns have happened before. There are much more important problems that we have to worry about economically, like inflation, like getting interest rates down, like the housing crisis, like people not getting paid enough, salary needs to increase, etc. The government shutdown, at least at the beginning, might not be the most of our worries, but it can get there. Anyways, my name is Derek. I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. I hope you learned something in this video. If you did, and if you like economic topics broken down simply and just have a discussion, then you're in the right place because that's all we do. I love personal finance, I love investing, and it's been my passion for over a decade, and I love being able to share that with you. So if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, and please consider turning on the bell notification so you don't miss the next video. We usually do videos on Tuesday, but sometimes when there is a major news like this, I'll do a video on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, I love this stuff. I love you guys, and I love having debates in the comments. So if you see it differently or if you have a different perspective, remember, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I'm not here to tell you how it is. I'm here to have a discussion with you, and I can learn from you just as much as you can learn from me. And I think that's what makes the world great, is discussion. So keep it civil, but please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.